All right. Well, welcome. Thank you. Wow. Wow, thanks, guys. Man, oh man, Mike Hartman. Whoa. How many of you guys want him to introduce you? Wow. Half of that's not even true. I'm like, man, he's not introducing us. Maybe somebody else is going up. This is awesome. What a great night. I know a lot of people are going to be watching this through Teamcast, and it's amazing. We're going all over the place. We're in 3 languages here. Tonight we'll be in 1, and it'll be kind of it'll be you decide which one it is. But it's English, but not proper English. So I never learned it right. So I just want to welcome you guys. I was talking to some people out in the hallway and telling them, like, if somebody invited you to something like this, it probably means they like you. We don't invite people to stuff like this we don't like. Why in the world would you want to work with somebody you don't like after you work? Like, no thanks, So, it's just interesting. I'd love to start out the night by saying this one word. What we do is unusual. It's unusual. That's really the best way to describe it. It's if you came in like I did, one hand on your wallet and an eye on the door, wondering if it's one of those things you can just chill. Nope. And I'd love to be able to kind of kick off by, explaining just a little bit about this, this company. Sorry, I'm going to grab this here. But, it's interesting, to be able to have the opportunity to work with some of the most innovative people of our time. And I truly believe that. I believe that Orrin Woodward will go down in history as one of the guys that he was swimming against the current when everybody else was rushing in the direction of what wasn't working anymore. Orrin Woodward decided that being the best in a dying industry was not as good as being a newcomer in an unknown industry. And that's a big deal. And so, when I had first met these guys, I heard them say the comment that an idiot in an upward trend can beat a genius in a downward trend any day of the week, and I was very excited, I've never claimed to be super smart, but I tell you what, I love to run with people that are. Because I used to tell people all the time, I got started when I was 21, building communities, working on this compensated community theory with these guys, and people would often, kind of laugh at me or, check me in the shins a little bit because I was young and I didn't have a lot to offer. And I would say, it's not what I know, it's who I know and what they know. That's really the value. And so, you basically have, in order to be in business, you have to have a problem and a solution. And in between is what you call opportunity. And so what happens is, if there's a problem in life and somebody creates a solution, they could create a business. And Orrin Woodward, I just think, the best way to describe him is, you remember the old TV show Doogie Howser? This teenage kid, he's a doctor cruising around the hospital with his stethoscope and his white coat. And, it's funny because I think that Orrin was kind of like that in the engineering world. He was a young hot rod, level 7 engineer, and anybody else that was at that point basically was 50 or older. They had been in a seasoned career for a while. And he was just one of those, prodigies that just walked in there and not just on talent, but he worked and he was diligent on what he was doing. And basically, he had learned about, a couple of different industries out there, and his brilliance. Now, let me preface. What Orrin did was he was a systems engineer. He would take things that weren't broken, he would break them, and put them back together stronger and better than before. Now, put a pin in that, and we'll come back to that in a little while. That's an important one, okay? Because that one's going to explain why what we do is so critical right now. But basically, he and, some other, founders of the Life Company, basically, They put together 8 categories where they saw a problem and they wanted to provide a solution. Okay, you guys catching my drift now? And so one of the categories was family. Would you guys agree that today, in our day and age, there is a family problem? It's not that the community raises the children. Those children don't even get raised in the home they live in most of the time. Isn't there a problem with that? The television's raising a lot of kids. I know I watched my fair share as a kid, and it was amazing, just growing up, watching TV and the comfort that was put in with that. Let me explain something where, well, I'll get back to that. Finances. Is there a problem that a solution could fix? Do we live in a, Mark was talking about it earlier, we live in kind of a country where the world of finance or the finance per person could use a little boost. And people are doing things that they desire rather than that are necessities. And they get those two mixed up often. And they don't realize that every time they get it mixed up, most of the time, well, not every time, but most of the time, it works in someone else's favor. And so fitness. I'm just kidding. I'm totally kidding. But fitness, I am not the fitness guy. Mark was up here earlier. He's the fitness guy. And, it's like, just in the world of fitness, I mean, just in America, we are out of shape. Our portion sizes are out of control. We want to supersize and biggie size everything. Because you know what? That's just not enough. We got to have more. And so, fitness. Following, you could call this leadership, but 7 F's and 1 L would look kind of dumb. So, the word following is a great scenario there. So following is a big deal. There's a lot to that. I mean, we're leadership poor in our country today and in the world today. We've got a lot of people in positional spots where, if they went on a walk with all the people they were leading, it'd be a lonely walk. They'd look back and see nobody there unless they had to be there. Freedom. Today we're reminded of freedom. It's 9/11. We'll be broadcasting this a week out. But, you think about that. 9/11, we forget how precious freedom really is. And freedom is a very amazing thing. And, it's one of those things you don't want to lose. It's hard to get, easy to lose. Just like money, right? And so, freedom's a big deal. I heard Oliver DeMille say one time, you're only as free as you know how to be. You're only as free as you know how to be. I love telling people, it's really easy to take from people what they never knew they had. So if you just don't teach them they had it, then you can take it away pretty simply. Friends. Back when I was growing up, so many years ago, it's just one of those things where, you had a couple of friends. Nowadays, you have electronic friends, and they can unfriend you. It's very sad, a little weird. And you know what? If I've met people, like, how many friends you got, on your whatever thing you call it. We won't give it credit by its name, but, how many friends do you have on there? 600. Okay, write down that you broke down on I-96. See how many of those friends come get you. They'll like and like and like and like. And I got 32 likes, honey. All those friends, man. This is great. I love it. Loving it. So, I don't know if I think there's an issue there, wouldn't you say? Problem, solution. Okay. Fun. How many of you guys have seen some people with a fun problem? Like, they don't have any. They are depleted. Okay. Now, faith, this is a big one, this is one that you got to understand, like, in that category, man, people are leaving that every week because they just weren't seeing that solution. That's a sad one. It really is. And so there's a huge opportunity there. And so, I walked through this process. This is a story that, totally changed my perspective because I kind of came in meeting the guys that I had met the original night that I had met them, which was about 3 weeks before 9/11 happened. So it was actually a pretty significant time in our life. We had just met these people that were going to end up becoming our business friends for the rest of our lives. And so it was just a few weeks before that had all happened. And, they had told this story, and it was kind of funny because I'll never forget Aaron drawing out this well. And he's like, I think that's what they look like. and then he drew these little tiny houses, and he talked about, this little town called Watertown. And let me explain something real quick. Because, well, I got a captive audience here. And I have the mic, so we can do whatever we want, right? All right. Silk, 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 silk. What do cows drink? Good for you guys. I got so nailed on that. Milk. They're like, no, they don't drink milk, you idiot. Dang it. But we get conditioned a lot of times if you do that, and you know, if I did the game where, hey, do what I do, or do what I say, not what I do, I get messed up on that one every time. Do you guys know what being conditioned is? I was conditioned a certain way. So when I looked at this story that I'm about to tell you, I totally fell into it. I'm like, that's exactly what was going on. And they call it Watertown, and they say, you know, if there was a problem where you had this town full of people and you needed water in this well so they could have water to do their thing, and there was the problem was that there was no waters. There is water a mile away, though. Solution is, who's ambitious? And so if somebody's ambitious, you know, let's say, you take Mike Hartman, and man, he's a hard worker, and I'll get water, Mayor, I'll get the water from here to here, and next thing you know, he's going out in his shed, and he's digging through there, and he knows he's got some buckets somewhere. And he grabs these buckets up, and he takes it out, and he just is on a mission, man. He's walking down to that river, and he dips those buckets in there, and he's like, man, this is great. I am the creator of my own destiny. I can make as much money as I want, as long as I keep carrying buckets. Now, isn't that a good thing to feel? As long as he can carry those buckets, man, he is great. He can do as good as he wants to do. And so, next thing you know, he starts going back and forth, and he's loving it. And you know what the cool thing about it, and I really related to this because as an electrician, I was always told, Steve, get into a field where they'll always need you. Job security. How's that word sounding nowadays? You know, it was almost like a blankie. You know, like a blankie. You know, it made you feel secure. But there is no such thing as job security anymore. And so, you know, basically, you know, what would happen is this water would go down because the town would use it, and the next morning, guess what gets to happen? I get to make as much money as I'm motivated to make this day, Mike gets to say. And Mike heads out there and starts doing it, and then he expands his enterprise, and he starts having some other people work for him, dipping buckets. And and then let's say there's, Mark Militello. Mark and Christine are here tonight, and I just love being around that guy. He's just... Certain people just make you feel better about you, And I just love being around Mark and Christine. I love being around Mark and Jen Paul, and just spending time with those guys. And Mark Militello, he says, man, you know what? I heard about a place called Pipeline University. And let's say he takes 12 months, and he goes off to Pipeline University, and he's taking night classes. And so he's going to Pipeline U. And so basically he goes to Pipeline University, and a year into it, how much money is Mark Militello making from a pipeline? Now, would you agree there's still a problem where the town needs water and there's a river available? Yes. Now, wouldn't you agree that buckets and a pipeline accomplish the same thing but differently? Now, even though Mark is 12 months through Pipeline University, has not put one piece of pipe on, who's more ahead? The bucket carrier or Mark? Mark. Because he has a solution that will way exceed anything he could do on a day-to-day basis, right? And so Mark, he comes back and, he drops his pump in the water and he's got a pile of pipe laying over here and he starts putting these pipes together. The problem is Mark has to carry buckets during the day because he has bills to pay, right? And so he's doing that and he's carrying these buckets, and at night, what do most people do in the evening? Watch TV, right? And it's funny because Mark decides, he's like, I'm not going to watch TV. That got me where I am at. I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm going to spend that time, and I'm going to drop my welding helmet down, and I'm going to let the welder just hit. He starts welding that pipe. Now, what's funny is after he works a little while, let's say he gets a half a mile into this project, What do the bucket carriers think Mark is? Crazy. Like, whoa, awesome pipeline, Mark. How well is it paying? Now, what do you think bucket carriers know about pipelines? Nothing. Because they would do it. Think about that. The logic in that. Why in the world would you carry buckets endlessly if you could build a pipeline to do it for you? It's leverage. It's total leverage. And so, halfway down, Mark's getting teased by those people. He's given up TV time because he found it to not be such must-see. Not such must-see TV time. And so he decided, you know what? I want to have something. I worked for 6 years in my career field. Might be long, might be short. Doesn't really matter. It was mine. But after 6 years, the day I quit, I had nothing. Because I worked day by day by day. I worked per bucket. And at the end, I was done. I had nothing. It didn't keep trickling in. More water didn't just show up at the well. I got nothing beyond that. So let's say Mark just pushes through, and he's building it and building it and building it. And he gets it, and he puts a 90-degree piece on there, and he's got a valve on there, and he opens up that valve. And he's like, oh, man. Between me and freedom is 1 mile of dirt that I've patted down. How do you think he's going to walk back to that pump? I mean, wouldn't you? What would you do? You're like a mile from hitting the on button. And you make money. Gallon after gallon after gallon after gallon after gallon after gallon after gallon. Like, what if you guys had an income like that? Where if you were sleeping, you're making money. Mark makes it back, hits the button. Next thing he buys is a lawn chair. Oh, I love it. I love it. And he's looking over at the the bucket guys like, oh, you should have listened. And now, do you guys understand? Problem solved, right? But the problem that I was looking at was I only had 24 hours in my day. And most of them I spent working. And then you got to do this crazy thing, the way that we're all made, is you have to sleep. Right? So you got work and sleep. What else do you end up doing? You end up driving, eating, honey-do list. Got to get some good TV in there. You got to do this other stuff. So you got to get some TV in there. Oh, kids. Right? Get home. Off to bed, off to bed, off to bed. Man, they still got a fork and spoon. I don't know. They're still eating dinner, man. And off. Get up, get up, get up, get up, get up. And isn't this how it works? Didn't the school year just start? Kids are like, I mean, how many of your kids went to like the first week of school, man? They look like little zombies. They're dozing off. Their face is hitting the cereal bowl. I mean, isn't that how they are, man? They're just like, they're trying to get revved up like this. For real? Man, I want to sleep in. And so we end up having this 24-hour day. But what if we used our slice a little different outside of work? What if we used it a little different? What if you used it to build a pipeline? And that's what these guys were talking about. And I loved it because I thought, I've got that same amount of time. I've met a ton of busy people. That's what I like. I like busy people. You know why? Because I don't have to teach them how to get off the couch. If you're busy, that means you're motivated. That's a good thing, man. You're busy. Like, man, I'm so busy. Yes. I love that because I feel like I could partner with that person. Why? Because they're not afraid to do more. And so, in doing that, we know there's this balance of life. But I used to steal from my sleep slice to watch a football game. I used to steal it to watch dumb stuff that I shouldn't have, like a basketball tournament or something, And so, basically, this was one of the things that they told us that if you did it this way, you could have success differently. And they were talking about define what you want first, learn from somebody that has it, and then do what they did. Now, this is a problem because I was doing my job, and by definition, as an apprentice electrician, you learn from the people you work with. And then my paycheck defined my lifestyle. It defined the cars we drove, the house we lived in, the vacations we never took, everything about us. It defined everything every 2 weeks. And it seemed like even if we worked harder, a lot of times I didn't understand how the tax world worked, and it seemed like sometimes when I would put in a little bit of overtime or something, I'd make less. It was totally weird. So even if, when I figured that out, I wrote less time down on my time card. Yeah, I worked 42 hours. Who cares? 40. I know how the game works. Well, you can't write down less than you work. Sure I can. I know how it works, man. I'll make more by writing down less. I actually did this, and we got in a little bit of a disagreement where I worked because I would write down less. Anyhow, whatever. Who wouldn't? Are you kidding me? If you made more money, got taxed less, and brought home more, you would write down less hours, wouldn't you? That's what I told them. It's logical. You know? Whatever. So I had these wants. They were talking about, like, what would you do if time and money weren't an issue? Like, and what if you had a pipeline? Like, let's just say this. Like, let's say you guys had a pipeline coming into your bank account that was making you money again and again and again and again and again. What would you do different? Would you sleep in? Would your sleep slice get bigger? Would your quality time slice get bigger? Would your volunteer slice get bigger? Maybe you'd mow your lawn just through watching somebody else do it. You know, because, I mean, lawn needs to be mowed, right? I mean, unless it was this summer, you know. We finally got a summer in Michigan, and none of us knew what to do. And, you know, so you know, you end up, you know, your lawn needs mowed, but, gal, couldn't you pay someone to do it? You know, couldn't you pay somebody to do a lot of the extra things in your life that, you know, you're busying up? And so I thought, yeah, that'd be kind of cool. And I remember thinking, like, they said, write down a list of everything that you would do. Man, I wanted more time. How many of you guys would want more time if you had more money coming in? It would buy you more time. Wouldn't that be fun? You know, what would you do with your time? You know, I'm like, well, I would sleep in. Actually, my original goal was just to be lazy and watch more TV. Like, seriously, that's all I wanted to do. And you know, I just wanted to be able to have more fun. I wanted more options. We put travel on here. How many of you would travel more? Like, or travel right? You know? I love when Bill Lewis says how his mom took him to Disney and, like, all right, we're going. Don't you look at anything, touch anything, or ask for anything. You know? And we're here to have fun, don't forget. You know? I love that. Because that is how most of the time it is, isn't it? Because you don't want to buy a $35 wand. You know? You're like, what is that thing? I don't know. It lights up, you know? Like, bring, bring. You know? We just went to the Great Wolf Lodge, and our kids wanted to buy these, like, wizard wands. Like, I don't think so, man. And it was, like, outrageous, man. I saw the parents that were doing it. I mean, these kids had big, tall hats, and they were decked out, man. I'm like, are you kidding me? I went and priced that stuff. No. I told my kids, I'm like, absolutely not. It doesn't work anywhere else. like, no. Don't ask again. Like, that's craziness. And so, but if you weren't me, what would you do? Deck your kid out, right? You know, whatever. And so, would you give to some charities? Would you help out some family? Would you, how about, one of my favorites to talk to people about is what would it feel like to be debt-free? To have a sizable savings account. To be able to know that you're set because your pipeline brings in more than you can spend. What would it feel like to be like that, secure, to be set up, to have a machine working for you to where you knew you could have more? This was something big because I knew my income. Actually, we blew this up just so that you could see it on camera. I think Beth and I, we weren't really far in our profession, so it was more like that. But, you know, and it was interesting because we were like not even living on our own yet. We still had roommates called parents, you know. And So our income compared to what we wanted, we were still at that early stage where we thought, doesn't matter, we're going to get it anyhow. Do you guys remember feeling like that? And then all of a sudden, like, it's like a tractor pull. You know how it works on a tractor pull? They pull this trailer, and the further they go, the weight comes to the front, and it gets heavier. Have you ever felt like that, trying to save or trying to get more time back or trying to pay things off, and it feels like the weight's getting heavier? And so we hadn't really experienced that yet, and we would start telling people about our dream that we were going to live, and the tractor pull people were the ones looking at us like, the weight hasn't shifted to the front yet, has it? And we couldn't understand what they were talking about because it was going to get heavier and harder the further we went. And so this is what we wanted to do, is we wanted to do things differently. And these guys, I'm going to go back to what I talked about with Orrin a little while ago. Him and Chris Brady originally had partnered up years ago, and they'd started learning about, leadership development and people skills, and working on a thing called community building, which is kind of an interesting topic. They were way before their times. And what was interesting is that, when Orrin was doing all that stuff, and with his mindset of being able to break something and put it back together stronger, better, and more productive than before. Now let me give you a couple scenarios. This is called intersectional innovation, this right here. So when two industries collide, the in-between spot is opportunity. Intersectional innovation. And so we have all, who in here lived through the 90s? Okay, good. All right, we're I always love that because it wakes you up a little bit. But in the late 90s, we all lived through an intersectional innovation. And most people didn't become millionaires because of it. It was distribution and internet. Now we call it e-commerce. It's basically how we buy everything now. And that happened in our lifetime, and we can't go backwards in time to start up a company and be a part of all that. But that was a huge moneymaker in our lifetimes where intersectional innovation happened. And I just give you that example so that you can understand as we go forward. Personal development, self-help, $400 billion industry. There's a little slice of weirdos in there that do some crazy stuff. But if you were only this slice and you were only that good at it, wouldn't you still live a good life out of $400 billion? Like, we're not saying, the guy down the street, who's got a sunflower growing out of his project car, he's got an idea. You know what I'm talking about? Like your cousin Eddie or something, he's got an idea of how to start up a company. No. We're telling you that this is a proven industry. $400 billion proven. Home-based business. Now, how many of you guys would like to own a home-based business where you could actually show up late? And nobody cares. I was getting my hair cut today, and the lady was so funny, man. Like, I don't know, it was really weird. She's like, so you on lunch? I'm like, nah, just got done at the gym. She's like, so you got the day off? And it's like the same thing. I don't think she remembers me or something. Like, I'm going to have to do something so she'll actually remember me and, like, stop asking the same question over and over. I said, I just own my own company, work from home. And she's like, oh, really? Well, what is it? I told her like 8 times. Like, I don't think she cares. Like, So anyhow, I said, well, I'm a partner in a mental fitness company, and we help sharp people stay sharp, and we help people that aren't sharp get sharp. She's like, okay. and she goes, oh, how do you exactly do that? I said, well, it's a little bit of coaching and a little bit of helping people get companies rolling. And she's like, okay. And I said, yeah, we just work out of the house. She goes, I could never do it. Like, why? Like, is it that bad? Like, I roll out of bed, man, at, like, I can't say what time because it would be bad. So, man, are you kidding me? Like, it's the best. But home-based business, $100 billion industry right there. It's happening right now, man. The internet pipes right into your house. You can run from your house what an old factory used to do. You can do that kind of volume. I mean, it's unbelievable. We live in a day and age, guys. We live in the wealthiest time in history, in the time where the biggest amount of wealth is being created right now. This will probably never happen again. It's a big deal. So there's a big one. If you were just in between those two, you'd do fine. But then you've got community building. Facebook just went public. Not sure if that's a good or bad thing yet, but but it is what it is, and there's tons of people on there. But how many of you guys in here and out there were involved in building Facebook? You friended somebody. So you helped build it. How much did you see in return? Goose egg, right? All right, so there's a lot of money. We can't even quantify how much money is there. There's just a ton. And then you've got life coaching, which is kind of an upstart industry, which I think is great because I think we really need more of this. Because of all those problems in the eight areas I was talking about earlier, we really need some life coaches out there that are well-grounded and well educated in how to help people get on track. And so basically they're just building train tracks for somebody in their life where they can just get on the tracks and go forward and actually live a better life because of that life coach. That is a cool industry. And there's a $1.5 billion industry right there. So these guys positioned life right in the middle of those four. It smells like opportunity. To me, I get excited about that because I didn't have the idea. I just happened to be in the right timing. Happened to be in the right spot at the right time. So are you guys. And so this is a really cool scenario that we're all living by right now. Now these guys, they actually went and listened to Michael Dell talk in 1999. And they were Michael Dell, you got to understand, he built computers and sold them online. I've heard he was in the first 800 websites on the internet. That's pretty cool. Good luck doing that. Most people didn't even know what the internet was at that point. And he was selling computers on the internet to people that didn't have computers. That's gutsy. That is amazing. You can tell your parents about that. Well, I'm going to sell computers to people online that don't have computers. Well, where's your store? We don't have one. What? It just doesn't sound good, right? Well, he was an expert in the industry at the time that Orrin and Chris went and listened to him. And they went and listened. The guy was worth, $21.5 billion, somewhere in that range. He's probably someone you should listen to, right? They say if you want to get where someone's at, do what they did. Listen to those that have fruit on the tree. Don't listen to those that just do this. There's a lot of talk out there, isn't it? They say free advice is worth the price you pay. Right? So it's worth about nothing. And so, when Dell was talking, he did this talk on how to have a successful business on the internet and in the future. And he talked about content. Content is a necessity. You have to have content. You got to have, stuff. And what we do is we created life-changing information. Often people ask us, what do you actually sell? What is the product here? We have life-changing information, materials, CDs, books, association. We have all this material we've created because we know that if somebody gets around the right community of people, let me back up for a second. If you hang out with bank robbers, what are you eventually going to do? Rob a bank. If you hang out with drug dealers, what are you going to eventually do? Deal drugs. If you hang out with smokers, what are you going to eventually do? They say birds of a feather flock together. If you hang out with a bunch of free people that are going in a direction and their life is getting better, what might happen to you? How cool is that? Like if our kids hang around naughty kids, guess what? They don't get to hang out with them anymore. I could be the worst dad in the world, but I'm still the best dad because of it. I know what happens. They're not strong enough to not fall into the trap. I'm not strong enough to not fall into the trap. That's why I don't watch TV. I don't know what's good and what's bad. I can't filter it. I don't know when they're marketing to me. I don't know what their product placement's all about. I can't handle it. I'll go buy the stuff. So I just decided I don't want to buy their stuff. I'm not watching it. So I just decided I didn't know. And so life-changing information. I love this right here. Living the life you've always wanted. Just think about that. I'll give you a couple seconds. If you could live the life you've always wanted, it would be ... Can you imagine tomorrow waking up, living the life you've always wanted? Wouldn't it be sweet? I don't know what you would be. Maybe living in the Wild West? Maybe, I don't know what you'd be doing. I don't know. We don't want to know. Anyhow, so content, commerce. Here's what, and I'm going to get to this here in a second. Sharing with friends, family, and fans. This is kind of like, how do you get it in an avenue to shoot out to people? If you've got great information, it's got to get out into commerce. It's got to get out into the world. And how do you do that? And I'm going to get to that in a minute. But the last thing is where Dell drew a line, and he said, yep, you can do these too. But this one will set you apart forever. This is the most key ingredient. And he called it community. And I think we've actually trademarked the phrase compensated community for life. Like, that's a big deal. So when somebody asks you, what do you do? I build compensated communities. What is that? On your 8th haircut, and the lady asks you again, what you do? And she just goes, oh, I could never do that. I'm like, probably not. So check this out. Here's where people they always ask this. I love it because I know how human nature is. There's always the devil's advocate in all of us, right? Okay, come on, is this really that kind of stuff? It wasn't like Mark, Paul, and I sitting in his garage with a boombox. All right, Mark, go. Today I'm going to talk about how to, work on your finances a little bit better. And no. These guys are like unbelievable. I'll give you some background on them. New York Times, Wall Street Journal, Business Weekly, USA Today, and Money Magazine best-selling authors. Oh, that's easy. Most people have never read a book, let alone write one that gets that kind of accolades. Are you kidding me? Like, that's crazy. And so then you got world-ranked leadership gurus. Now, this is the one. I'm going to spend a second on this. Orrin is ranked number 6. You got people in there like John Maxwell and Stephen Covey and Colin Powell and, big names. And Orrin Woodward. I think Orrin is unusual. Because he's swimming against the stream. He is. Everyone else is going the other way. And he's like, wow, this is amazing. They all got out of my way so I could go create something amazing. This is absolutely crazy. And I love it because, here he is, ranked number 6. Oh, and he mentored a guy named Chris Brady to spot number 11. It is crazy. Now you'd think Orrin's probably in his late 80s and he's at the tip of his, the peak of his highlighted life. He's 45. We were talking to him a couple weeks ago. He's like, no, I'm 45. I've got a lot of productive years left. He's like, this is going to get crazy. Now that's pretty cool, huh? And so, we've got all kinds of great materials, and you've got, 2011 IAB Top Leadership Award winner, Orrin was. This was a big deal. I know that he didn't even know he was in the running for it. And he wins it. It's just kind of cool, from the outside world, these guys are getting swooped up, man. They're getting offers to go speak and teach all over the world, and they're just declining because they've got a project they've been working on for about 18 years, and it's starting to bloom. And so they're watering it, man. They're fertilizing, and they're watering, and they're fertilizing. And that's why you're here. That's why some crazy person came to you, and you got to come to this meeting. And they're nuts, man. You can't even figure out why in the world they're talking in sentence fragments. And you've never seen them smile, and now they're hugging you. Oh, man, I knew we were going to be friends forever. What in the world? It's just kind of like weird, right? But that's what hope looks like. Hope looks happy. It looks fun. It looks exciting. So I want to explain this because when Orrin and Chris, they wrote their first book together, they went on a vacation, and they stayed up late one night. And they said, let's define leadership. I grew up north. When you stay up late, you don't define leadership. Up north and not smart. So, no. Usually you wake up somewhere you didn't know you were, right? And so, here's these guys on a vacation, Orrin and Chris. let's define leadership. Into the wee hours of the night, and it ends up becoming a book called Launching a Leadership Revolution. That is awesome. So, in 2007, that book goes onto the market. Small Time Warner Publishing, small company, picks it up and publishes it. They're not small, just kidding. They're a huge company. They publish it. What happens is that they manufacture it, and it goes from manufacture down to packaging. Do you think the cost goes up or the value? Cost. What happens when it goes to national wholesaler? Cost or value? Cost. All the way down, cost gets added, and then the customer gets to go in there and buy that book at a bookstore at the highest cost possible. And all that other money went to all these people in between. Now, you can go and you can find a leadership CD to try and get yourself better, but it's just a total guess. Wouldn't it be nice to have a CD pharmacist on hand? I'd say Mark Militello is a CD pharmacist. Mark, I'm having a financial cough. Oh, take 2 of these. Call me in the morning. And seriously, he can help you out because there's material specific for that help. And so what they figured out is that their information came from their brains. They created it, and it went down here, went national best-selling authors. And they decided, they're like, we got to change that up a little bit, because what if we just create our own stuff here, we use the internet and get it down to the customer, and we take that 80% that was left over, 80 to 85, because I think there was 15 to 20% was their residuals that they gave away to a nonprofit company, as just charity, like, we're just going to give it away to that. And so then there was like, what if you had this extra percentage there? 80% that was given out to the compensated communities. Those of us that were merit-based and we wanted to go do the work, and we actually built some flow of traffic where we could actually get some people out there, consuming some of that material. What if you got the middleman money? Wouldn't that be cool? I like that part. I never could figure out how to be able to get into middleman money. And then I met these guys, and I was like, this is it. This is our meal ticket. And so I wanted to do this. And so let's say you came with Tim, and Fred, your name's Fred, and then you've got, Bob with you, and Joe. Sorry, it's just guy names, not specific for any reasons. I just first came to my mind. And then you got Sally. I just want to make sure. Ladies do this too. All right, so if all these people are working together, and Fred knows somebody that loves this type of information, and they're working to build a compensated community, what if Fred knew Jim? And everything Jim, all the material that Jim ever put out into the communities always benefited Sally and those that were all involved prior. Now that's pretty cool. And so here's Sally, and she's excited, like, wow, I'm doing pretty good. I knew I'd be pretty good at this. Well, she hasn't done anything yet, except just be there. And then, and Bob hasn't done anything, but Fred brought in Jim. Now, how cool is that when all of a sudden you can start working together as a team? I remember hearing this story from Orrin where he said, if one person would just put their feet in a bucket of ice, they could probably keep them in there for about 2 minutes. But if you had a friend there going, you can do it, don't pull them out, don't do it, don't pull them out, come on, keep them in there, keep them in there, you could go 6 minutes. Now, what if you put a team of people like that together to move this type of material out into the society where it's needed the most, more than it's ever been needed? There's times in the history of America where family information wasn't that bad. It wasn't that needed, was it? Because they were all together. They kind of actually ate dinner together. The kitchen table was for a different reason than today. Now it's just a stacking place. So what would happen if these people worked together? Well, let's say one of them builds one business, and that has a potential of making anywhere from $500 to $500 in a month. Would anyone give back $500 in a month? No. You could do something. You could pay your car off faster. You could pay your house off faster. Can you imagine what $500 could do to exponential debt? Man, it would be fantastic. Don't ever underestimate what $500 could do against that. Then, what happens if somebody was motivated enough to build 2 businesses and you had between $500 and $2,000 in a month? Because remember, there's middleman money, right? How many people, just a couple grand a month, life is so different? Like, wasn't that great? Like, man, this is amazing. You know, let's just pretend for a second you didn't spend all of it. I definitely would the first couple months. And so you have fun with it, but you start to establish yourself, and that starts sticking to you. What if you actually went out and built 3 businesses, and you were anywhere from $2,000 to $8,000 in a month? Wouldn't that be kind of wild? And really, like, so let's say Jim had 3 businesses. Jim would make $2,000 to $8,000 a month, right? Somewhere in that range, based on the amount of materials flowing out through his businesses. What if Joe only had 1? It's based on performance, isn't it? Now do you see why we built it the way we did? I say we. Now do you see why the founders of life built it the way they did? I can't take any credit. But they seriously, they said, we want to build it on a merit base, where it's not who got in first or who came around, who was part of the early stage. No, if you are motivated, if you have work ethic, we would love to welcome you to this program, because you know what? We want to pay the people that are willing to do the work. We will shove money in your bank account because you earned it. We want you to earn more than you think you're worth. So, you know, most people ask, well, what does it take to actually get started? Well, if we do a couple of things right, we can get you started for $49.99. That's pretty good. So here's what we actually do. We help somebody get started for $49.99. So under $50. Less than it cost me to fill up my tank of gas on the way here tonight. So I didn't pray about it. I'm sitting at the gas pump. Hold on, I got to pray real quick. Make sure this is the right decision to fill my car up. No, you fill your car up. If your toaster breaks, you don't pray about it. You buy a new toaster. I mean, I've had people say, like, well, I got to pray about it. Like, that's great. I did too. That's why I'm here. Like, I'm at your house, man. And so, you know, and you may, like, but we're going to help this person. We're going to help Fred make a list of people. Here's a great place to start. Hey, Fred, who do you know that's broke? All right, there's a list. We'll jot those people down. All right, who do you know that hates their job? All right, well, good. Looks like you'll do just fine here. And so, you know, off you go, and we make a list, and then we get a hold of some people. You know, all we do is we get a hold of them and contact some people. What does that mean? Does that mean we talk to them about what we do over the phone? No, we just set up a time to meet with them. Share some information with them. Isn't that pretty simple? That's just, you know, just like anything else. Share the program with them. Book a follow through. If this is your first time to something like this, this is one thing you want to do tonight. There are probably people getting started fast in here. I know of some of the teams that are in here. You might want to look over at them right now and just say, now. Otherwise, man, you're gonna be, you know, shoved to the bottom, you know, because you want to get started in a fast fashion. Treat it like a $50 decision. Seriously, treat it like 2 DVDs. Just treat it like that. This is a big deal. I'm in. And then let's decide from there where we can go. But at least grab a spot and roll. And then the next one is you just rotate and teach. So you just help the next person. We duplicate. We teach people how to do that. If you think if you had a few people with three businesses, you think you'd have to be there much? No. They'll do it without you. Buy yourself a lawn chair. Watch the pipeline. I'm telling you, it's amazing, you guys. This is a huge deal. You can actually do this because each one of these people knows some people, right? Who do you know that's broke? Who do you know that hates their job? You know, and in that category, you can just run right from there. And I love doing what we do because as we build materials out there, we have different subscriptions that you can plug into. Actually, these meetings like this, you can actually get paid back for purchasing a subscription for them. It's kind of wild. There's a seminar coming up in October that Mark and Jen Paul are actually going to be speaking at with. Yeah, absolutely. So anybody that's in the webcasting world of this, Mark and Jen Paul are going to be doing part of that, and then so are John and Lynn Mosner. And definitely look into those two couples. Man, I tell you what, Mark and Jen and John and Lynn have helped us build a great community. People that are in our business, in our community, have joined because of these guys. So it would be very beneficial for you to be able to, one, attend that yourself, and two, get a bunch of other people to attend that also, because they'll do for you what they've done for us over the years. And man, I'll tell you what, it's cool because I don't have to be them. They can still be them, and they can still help me, and they can help you. And that's what they're going to do that day. So definitely get around the campfire. But I'm gonna end on that. I want you guys to definitely get a time back with the person that brought you. Get what we call a first night pack. There's definitely a level of excitement that you want to take out of here. That does it work? Yes, it works. Look around. This is fantastic. This is just one of many locations. And then the second question is, can I do it? And that's what the person that's working with you or going to lend you that material wants to prove to you, is that you can do this. And so we want to definitely get you around the campfire, help you guys learn as much as possible. I know Mark is going to come back up and do some teaching here in just a few minutes and kind of walk through how to actually get this thing started correctly. If you wanted to engage at this, if you wanted to actually see this thing through, how could you get to a freedom state like him and Jen are at, where, man, they just have a fantastic lifestyle. They've got freedom. They've got abilities to spend time with loved ones, in those moments. And they decide their schedule. They can do whatever they want, and it's super cool. And they got a home-based business. And, they're in a leadership industry. They do some life coaching, and they build communities. And so it's intersectional innovation. I'm going to share with you guys now my partner in this business, the lady that I married and then ended up going different directions every day from, so that we could both work with other people's spouses and then come home and argue about other people's spouses. It got frustrating because we're like, man, we barely see each other, and when we do, we're frustrated. And so, I love working with Beth. She's awesome. She homeschools our kids, which is a project in itself. She's just awesome. She does all kinds of great things. She's one of the greatest friend to people that I see. I mean, she is such a giver of her time and her love and energies that, man, when people get to know her, they really just love her because they find out how real she is, and that it's not just some fake facade that she's putting on just to trick them into doing what she does. No, she's the real deal, man. She's fun. She's competitive. She loves to win. And I get to spend every day with her now and be able to just run the roads with her when we choose and be able to raise our kids the way we choose with all the extra time that we choose. And we get to just be able to do that stuff. So she's been free for, I think, 9.5 years now, something crazy like that. And, it's just funny, man. I love being able to remember the day we picked her up from that job where they all told her it wouldn't work. And, boy, that was fun, This is it not working later. And so, man, she's been free, been able to stay at home, be with the kids, and just raising them up, and she's doing a great job. But let me say, she's also big time in our business, man. She is all about it. She's going with me later this week to do some stuff, and she's just awesome. She's my secret weapon, and I love having her there because if I can get them in, she will keep them in. And so everybody loves Beth. So I want to share her with you guys right now. This is my wife, Beth.
Thank you. Have a seat. Well, first of all, if you're brand new, coming into an environment like this, I'm sorry. I know we're a little bit overwhelming, but Steve was right. This is what happy looks like, and this is what hope looks like. And so it's probably a different environment than work. And whatever living room or conference room you're in, it was probably a little bit different than maybe the conference room you might have been in earlier today, where there were probably no smiles and no, well, hey, what do you think? Why did you do that? And how can we fix this? But we were with some people a while back, and they were kind of asking us, what we did. And one of our kids piped up and says, my dad finds people's itch and sells them as scratcher. And she learned that because she had heard Steve say that on the phone to somebody. You know, he was talking to one of our, new business partners and saying, what you really want to do is, find their itch and sell them a scratcher. And, so she had repeated that, and they're like, I could just imagine what was rolling through their head of what they thought we'd do. Oh, anyway, so many things go through my head right now that I will not say. Anyway, but that really is the truth, you know what I mean? And so if you're brand new coming and you're thinking, okay, Mark was awesome, Steve was awesome, but I just don't really still understand exactly what to do. That's okay. You don't have to understand everything. What you need to know is that we go out there, we find people's itch, and we sell them a scratcher, meaning we find their need, and we show them that this business can get whatever they want. Because, there's a lot of different companies that sell different products that are great. But you know what? What we do is we build compensated communities. We bring people around the campfire, we point them to the information, and then they personally invest in themselves whatever information they want for them. Whether they want the information in finances, whether they want the information in freedom, whether in the fun category, faith category, they choose. You choose. We're not saying, hey, if you buy this, you'll get rid of your itches, sort of, but sorry, I just can't get rid of that analogy. But it's definitely worth your time because there's so many things that tug at our time and pull at our time, and you just think, oh, there's got to be something out there. Think to yourself right now, have you ever been laying in bed or sitting at the table with your checkbook, paying the bill, saying, there's got to be a better way. There's got to be a better job that I can make more money, right? We've all had that thought. This is what you're thinking about. This is what you're wishing for, that you think almost is too good to be true, but it's not. This is it, okay? And so all you have to get good at is taking the next step. Steve and I were so young when we got started. We didn't have any confidence. We didn't have business skills. We didn't have college degrees, okay? But we got in and we learned from the people who had already made it down the road. That's all you have to do, okay? And so we are going to take a 5-minute break, and then Mark Paul has agreed to come up for a few extra minutes to close out the night and just wrap it all up and tell you how you can do it fast, how you can get the most bang for your buck out of your time, and how you can scratch as many backs for the people that you find out there. So thanks so much.